Hi there. Welcome to the Healing Migraines Naturally podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Leslie Caesar, and I'm a licensed naturopathic doctor. I'm a former chronic migraine sufferer, and I've dedicated my life to helping other women with chronic migraines rediscover a migraine-free life. So welcome to the podcast today. One of the most common questions women ask me is, what is it that you do? And I don't have a good answer for that question. Not because I'm being evasive, not because I'm trying to be coy. I'll come back to this at the end of this episode and tell you exactly why. But first, I want to tell you about my hair appointment yesterday. So the salon I go to is, you could call it an organic salon, meaning that the hair color that they use is the least toxic hair color products. And, in general, the products that they use are very clean products, as less toxic as possible. I'm not going to say there's no toxins in them. Of course there are, but, it's a cleaner product line that they use there. So the women who go to the salon are, I have to assume, like myself, they're women who care about that. They put a priority on that. They put some sort of value on natural remedies, clean living, etc. So I've been going there at least 10 years. The owner is a woman named Tracy, and Tracy used to cut my hair. And now I go to Nancy, who's a great stylist who works there. But, I know them both very well. So when I come in, I'm just sort of like talking to both of them. And it's a small salon. It's just the two of them. So I sit down in the chair and Tracy, she's like, "How are you doing?" And then she says, I want to let you know I gave your information to one of my clients the other day because she has migraines. And I told her, you really have to check this out. And then she says, I really want my mom to reach out to you, but I know she hasn't yet, but, that's on God's timing. And so we were kind of just talking about that a little bit. So the woman, Tracy's client, is sitting in the chair next to me getting her color done. So she turns to me and she says, "Oh, did Tracy say that you're a doctor?" And I said, "Yes, I'm a naturopathic doctor." And then I paused because most people have never heard of a naturopathic doctor, right? They have no idea what a naturopathic doctor is. So I kind of paused and was looking at her to see if there was any glimmer, of recognition that she actually knew, what this very obscure profession was. And she kind of gave the typical blank stare. I was ready to jump in with my little elevator speech that kind of summarizes what I do. But she did have an understanding of naturopathy. Like I say, good for her. It's a rare breed. And so then her next question was very specific. And she said, "What do you think about berberine?" Now, I get all the same advertisements you all get, right? When I'm on YouTube or Facebook or Insta, right? I get all those same ads. And right now, with the whole GLP-1 craze that we're in, berberine, right? It's being sold as like a natural GLP-1, nature's Ozempic, right? So I wasn't quite sure if that's where she was going with it, but I sort of assumed that. So I didn't just sort of answer that particular question. I asked her a question back. And I said, "Well, why are you looking at berberine? Is it for weight loss?" And she said, "Yeah, I want to lose weight." So this woman, she's a little bit older than me, early 60s, I would assume. And she said she'd like to lose some weight, tummy fat, that type of thing. So if you listen to the YouTube ads, berberine is magically going to melt that weight off of her, right? But I know that her weight has to do with what I call the three principles, and the state, sort of the state of those three principles within side of her body. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you've heard me talk about these three principles, or the three things that our body needs in order to maintain its state of health or restore itself to a state of health if it falls out of a state of health. And our weight is tied to our state of health, not our state of physical fitness. That's something else. Our physical fitness level is not the same as our state of health, okay? But our weight, if we're holding on to excess body fat or adipose tissue that's connected to our state of health. So here's what I told her. I said, supplements are a supplement. Think about a house that's totally run down, ramshackle. The gutters have fallen off. The shutters are like hanging crooked, right? The paint is peeling. And a supplement is like walking into that house and saying, you know what, I've got the Mona Lisa here, and I'm going to hang this beautiful picture right here in the middle of this peeling, moldy living room. Supplements are helpful when you've got a good foundation, when you've got solid 2x4s holding the house up, when the roof is intact, when the doors are hung, the windows are, solid. Then you add a supplement and you're going to get a benefit from that supplement. You've got a nice house and now you come in and you say, okay, where am I going to hang the picture in the living room? That's how supplements should be used. But that's not what's being communicated to you on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. They're presenting the supplement as if it's going to turn a ramshackle house into the Louvre. And I could see the light bulb going off for her. So then I said to her, nobody wants to take pharmaceuticals. And she said, oh no, I hate taking drugs. And I said, but do you want to take fistfuls of supplements? Let's figure out why your body can't lose the weight in the first place. It could be any number of factors. Let's build the foundation of the house up, and then we come in with a little bit of artwork and make it into a cozy home. So I want to break that down because it's not the berberine, right? That woman came to me holding an answer, right? She wasn't asking me what's going on with my body. She was asking me to sign off on or give her my opinion on the answer that she already had. And that's not like a knock on her. That's all of us, right? That's how the entire health world, conventional or alternative or natural health, that's how this whole thing is running right now. When you call up a chiropractor, they're going to tell you that your spine is the problem, and they're going to tell you how expertly they're going to crack your neck. When you go to an acupuncturist, they're going to tell you that the problem is your chi and that acupuncture is going to balance it. When you go to a functional medicine doctor, they're going to tell you that your biochemistry must be wrong. And so they're going to order a few $1,000s worth of specialty lab testing. And then they're going to sell you the supplements that the lab told them to give you. And then there's a fourth one that nobody names because it doesn't really have an office. It's the algorithm. Eat clean, sleep 8 hours, cut out gluten, manage your stress. That one's free and it's everywhere, and it's just as much a predetermined answer as the other three. And then, also let's go way out on the far end here, and I'm saying this about the alternative medicine industry in general. There are certainly practitioners out there who have decided that, everything is being caused by liver flukes, or everything is being caused by parasites in your gut. That was a big scam about 20 years ago among non-medically trained so-called traditional naturopaths, and it hasn't entirely gone away. Fibromyalgia, migraines, infertility, fatigue, weight gain, liver flukes. Here's your cleanse, right? So that's the same problem, just at its sort of end stage. One answer, every single human being who walks through the door has it. So the woman with migraines goes to the chiropractor and hears it's her neck. She goes to the acupuncturist and she hears that it's her chi. She goes to the functional medicine doctor and hears it's her methylation. She goes to the neurologist and hears that her brain is wired differently. So 4 different practitioners, 4 completely different answers, all of them delivered with total confidence. And so she walks out thinking, well, they all disagree, so nobody really knows what's wrong with me. It's not that nobody knows what's quote unquote wrong with her, it's that nobody's asking the right questions. Everyone shows up with an answer. Almost nobody shows up with a question. Now, I know you could listen to me say all that and think, sure, of course she says that. She's selling her own thing, right? So let me tell you about my training. So I can actually crack your spine. I was trained as a naturopathic doctor. We're trained in manipulation that the chiropractors do and the old school osteopaths do. I can perform acupuncture. I was trained in that too. I did acupuncture when I practiced in Arizona, and I worked with people face to face. I can read every single one of the specialty labs that the functional medicine doctors run. I know what those panels say, and I know what they don't say, and I know what supplements the lab is going to recommend to the patient who gets those labs run. I'm also medically trained. I'm licensed in Arizona, where naturopathic doctors have prescription rights. I can read your laboratory reports. I can read your imaging reports. And I know when a woman's symptom picture means she has a really serious problem that needs to be worked up in a very real way right now, and not by me. I can use every hammer in the room here, okay? And that's exactly why I don't lead with any of them. When I tell you that chiropractic helps people, I'm not being, polite or gracious to chiropractors. When I say that, labs matter, yeah, I can read them myself. The tools are not the problem. The problem is that the tool got picked before anybody asked the question. If your entire training is the spine, then every woman who walks through your door has a spine problem. Not because you're being dishonest, it's because that's the only lens that you were handed. If your practice runs on selling supplements, it's remarkably difficult to conclude that this particular woman doesn't need any. Now, I'm not standing outside those professions throwing rocks. I'm standing inside all of them telling you that none of them is where you start. Where you start is a question. What is blocking your body from recovering? Now, I have to turn this around because it would be too easy to make this whole thing about practitioners, right? You do it too, okay? We all do it to ourselves. That woman in the salon chair next to me, she did it. And she is exactly the kind of woman who believes that she's, opt out of the pharmaceutical system, right? She goes to an organic salon. She pays more for lower toxicity color. She hates taking drugs. She told me so. But she still walked in holding a bottle. And that's the part that I want you to hear. She thought she had escaped the pharmaceutical model. She hadn't. She had just changed the label on it. Take a substance to make a symptom go away. That is the same logic whether the bottle came from a pharmacy or from an Instagram ad. The supplement industry has sold that to us as the alternative. It's not the alternative. It's the same model in a prettier, natural bottle. And that's why I asked her about drugs, not to call her out, because when she said, I hate taking drugs, she had already made my argument for me. All I had to do was ask whether fistfuls of capsules were really something different. And you do the same thing when you call me. You do the same thing when you talk to me. I hear it before I've asked you anything, right? Women get on the phone with me and they say, I know it's my hormones. I know it's the gluten. I know it's the histamine. I'm sure I've read about histamine and I'm sure it's the histamine. I've just tried everything for histamine. Nothing's worked, but I know it's the histamine. It all started after the car accident in 2009. Now, you didn't pull these things out of thin air. You've been living with these migraines for, 20 years, and you've been paying close attention. And some of what you've noticed is going to matter enormously. I want to hear all of it. But once you're holding an answer, everything after that gets sorted into two piles. Things that confirm the answer and things that you don't really look at. So if you're certain it's hormones, the migraine on day 19 is proof, and the one on day 4 is just noise. If you're certain it's gluten, the flare after the sandwich is proof, and the identical flare after a week with no bread makes no sense, so you set it aside. And it costs you, because when you're sure it's gluten, you take out gluten. And that doesn't fix it. So then you take out dairy, and then eggs, and then nightshades, and then anything with tyramine. And your food gets narrower and narrower, and your life gets narrower right along with it. And every one of those restrictions is quietly taking nutrients off your plate. The very first thing your body needs is a wide variety of nutrients coming in the front door, and you've been closing that door in the name of getting better. So I'm not asking you to stop believing what you believe about your body or deny patterns that you've recognized. I'm just asking you to hold it loosely enough so that we can actually look. Now, when people hear me say we have to build a foundation, a solid house, a roof that doesn't have a leak in it, right, that can hold up to the weather, I know exactly what they picture when I say this. They think I mean eating off of a food list. These are the good foods. These are the bad foods. They think I mean going to bed on time and getting up on time. They think I mean, deep breathing and quote unquote managing your stress. And that's not what I mean. This is a misunderstanding, okay? And this is why so many women tell me, I've already done all of that. I've already built the house, the foundation, and I'm still getting migraines. So what's really going on here? So a food list is somebody handing you the blueprints to their house. I'm asking about yours. What's the state of your foundation? What's the state of your 2x4s? Underneath every house, yes, it needs the same things. That part is not negotiable, and that's what I call the 3 principles. Number 1, we have to get the nutrients to your cells. You have to be able to eat a wide variety of food with a wide variety of nutrients. Your digestive tract has to break that food and actually get the nutrients out of the cells, and your blood has to carry those nutrients to the cells. Any break in that chain and your cells are running on empty no matter what the label or the food list tells you. And this is why eating clean is not an answer by itself. You can eat a beautiful diet and extract and deliver very little of it. The second principle is clearing waste material. Your body makes metabolic waste material every minute, 24/7, and it takes things, it absorbs things, toxins from the world that it can't use, and all of this has to be detoxified and eliminated, mostly by your liver. And when more is coming in or being made than what can get out, it accumulates. And a body carrying an accumulating load generates symptoms, migraines being one of them. And then number 3, the third principle is you have to have the vitality to come back. Stressors knock your body out of balance. Physical ones like illnesses and weather and injury. Mental and emotional ones like grief and conflict and a relationship that's grinding you down. Vitality is the force that brings you back. It's why one woman eats the aged cheese and is fine, and the next one loses 2 days. And no, deep breathing is not what I'm talking about. Breathing exercises are a band-aid on patterns that run much deeper. So these 3 principles are universal. Every human being on earth needs all 3 of these things. But what you build on top of that foundation, or how you put those pieces of the house together, that's completely yours. You can have a prairie-style home, you can have a modern farmhouse, you can have a mid-century modern ranch, you can have an all-brick McMansion. I don't care. Different women, different lives, different bodies, different houses. And that's why there's no list. There can't be. The foundation questions are the same for everyone, but the house is not. And I want to tell you why I feel so strongly about this, because I learned it the hard way and I learned it on other people. So years ago, before I had ever heard the words naturopathic doctor, When I was struggling with chronic migraines, getting a migraine every other day, frequently having to pull over on my commute home so that I could vomit on the side of the road, I worked with a local chiropractor. And in 9 months, he and I completely transformed my life. And what we did included acupuncture, included chiropractic, dietary changes, things that provided support for my liver to get these waste materials and toxins out of my body. Looking back on it now, what he recommended to me addressed the first and second principles. It didn't really touch the third one. That would come later for me. I was a completely different person after 9 months. Not only was I rarely getting a migraine, but I had lost 20 pounds of body fat. So not like 20 pounds on the scale, 20 pounds of actual adipose tissue in 9 months. The woman sitting in the chair next to me at the salon wants to lose tummy fat, and that's exactly what I got, but I didn't get it from a bottle. I got it from somebody helping me work on my foundation, work on my house. Now, I was working in corporate America. At the time, I had a completely different career, different profession before I became a naturopathic doctor. So, I'm going into the office Monday through Friday, and the change in me was so dramatic. My coworkers were absolutely flabbergasted. So, of course, they asked me, what did you do? So I told them, and I referred many of them to my chiropractor. And then I also started recommending things. Oh, well, do this or do that. And a number of them tried to do what I did, or they did a little piece of what I did, what I told them that I had done and recommended. And most of them didn't feel good. Okay, nobody was harmed, and nobody had to go to the hospital, but they their body didn't react well. They didn't feel well, and that experience taught me something that also was very much a turning point in my life, and that is, this is not a joke. Okay, this is not about following a handout. This is not running somebody else's protocol. This is serious stuff, and people can suffer when you tell them to do something that isn't the right fit for their body. And it makes physiological sense, which is what makes it worth saying. Part of what I did was detoxification support. Push detox on a body whose clearance is already overwhelmed, and that person is going to feel worse, not better. Though my coworkers, they weren't lazy, they weren't doing it wrong. They took a plan built for a house that had already had work done on the foundation and applied it to houses that hadn't. What I decided, standing in that office, was I had better really know what I'm talking about before I tell anyone else what I did or what to do. And that, as well as knowing that I had found my calling in the process of all of this, was that set off the whole chain of events that led to the work that I do now. I've told that story in other episodes of the podcast. So when I hear a version of, I spent 20 years with migraines and I healed myself, and now I'm going to help you heal you, I don't hear a villain. I don't hear someone with bad intent. I hear a 20-something telling my coworkers what worked. These are well-meaning, good-hearted women who get into health coaching, and what they're actually doing is this. They figured out how to build a blueprint that let them build a home they love to live in. And now they're handing you that same blueprint. But you may not want to live in that house, and you might want other pictures on the wall. The 3 principles give you a foundation and a structure. That part I will give to anybody for free all day long. That's what this podcast is. But the actual house is your house, and I want you to build your house. I don't want you building my house from my blueprint. And there's one more question that I ask, and I ask it about myself. Am I the best person to help this woman? Can I help her with part of it? And does she need anyone else in addition to me? And this is where my training is also extraordinarily valuable, because I know what the chiropractor knows. I know what the acupuncturist knows. I know what's on those specialty panels that the functional medicine doctors run. I know what an imaging report that your neurologist gets back. I know which questions I can help my client answer and which ones she's going to have to work with someone else to answer. And I tell my clients that right at the start. Here's what we're going to work on together, and here's a piece that you're going to need someone else to help you with if in fact that's the case. So sometimes what a woman needs is a conventional medical workup right away because something in her picture is a red flag, and it's not something that I can help her with in the way that I work right now. And I would much rather say that right away than not. So, what is it that I do? I didn't sell that woman in the salon anything. I couldn't have. I was sitting in a chair with my hair half done next to her getting her color done, and neither of us was going anywhere. I didn't tell her that berberine was a scam either. I don't know what berberine would do for her or wouldn't do for her, because I don't know a thing about the state of her foundation. Nobody does. Nobody's asked her. What she got from me was a better question than the one that she walked in with. She came in asking, should I take this? She left thinking about, why can't my body do this on its own? And that's the whole difference. It's the only difference that has ever mattered in my work. So when a woman asks me, what is it that I do? I don't have a clean answer for her. And that's why. Every practitioner in that opening list can tell you what they do in one sentence. I adjust spines. I do acupuncture. I run panels and build protocols. Crisp and confident and decided before you ever walked in. I can't do that because I don't know what kind of house you want to live in. I know what your foundation has to hold. Nutrients to your cells, waste materials out of your body, vitality to come back from what life throws at you. That's true for every single person listening. But what we build on top of that, that's yours, and I can't tell you what that looks like until you tell me. If you're living with chronic migraines and you're ready to understand what's actually driving them and what you can do about it, I'd love to talk. I offer a free consultation call. The link is in the description. We'll talk about your migraines and any other health conditions you have, and we'll put together a game plan to get you feeling better. It's going to be the best 30 minutes you've spent on your health in a long time. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you soon.